There are places where music isn't just sound. It is survival. It is rebellion. And sometimes it is a prayer spoken in the devil's tongue. In 1932, Clarksdale, Mississippi, every guitar string could be a lifeline or a noose. Sammy stumbles into his father's church, clutching the neck of a broken guitar, bleeding from wounds that speak of something far darker than a bar fight. His father, the preacher, embraces him, but in his eyes burns a quiet terror. Has his son escaped hell, or has he brought it through the church doors? This is a story of fathers and sons, of faith and defiance. And in the Jim Crow South, it's also the story of a black man trying to find his place between God's grace and the world's cruelty. Music is Sammy's rebellion, and perhaps his damnation. Michael B. Jordan's Smoke and Stack are more than just twin brothers. They are reflections of Black American duality. War veterans, Chicago survivors, they return home to build something defiant. A juke joint, a sanctuary where blues and bootleg whiskey can drown out the voices of oppression. But freedom in Clarksdale is a fragile thing. Bought from a racist landowner named Hogwood, their dream rests on shaky ground. And as the night falls, the ghosts of war, racism, and ancient evil begin to gather at their door. The moral conflict of sinners is ancient. Can beauty be born from evil? Can the same guitar riff that calls angels also summon demons? Sammy stands at the crossroads of gospel and blues, of sacred and profane. Ethically, this is a battle between Kantian duty, devotion to God and moral law, and Nietzschean rebellion, the will to create one's own values in a hostile world. Sammy doesn't just play music, he fights for his autonomy. Smoke and Stack's juke joint is more than a bar. It is an act of resistance. In a world where Black people are told they don't belong, they carve out a place where their voices rise louder than the hate outside. Laughter, dance, and blues music fill the cracked wooden walls. For one night, they are free. But freedom in this land is always temporary. Bought from Hogwood, a man who smiles while selling but spits while speaking, their bar sits on a foundation of compromise. The price of ownership is silence in the face of prejudice. Smoke and Stack walk a tightrope between rebellion and survival.
If you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like, comment, and share. It really helps the channel grow.
And then the strangers arrive. Remick, Joan, and Bert, white outsiders carrying fiddles and false smiles. They knock on the door not seeking music, but blood. Claiming unity through music, they represent the false promises of a segregated America. Can't we all be family? Remick asks. But behind his words hides hunger, predatory, eternal. Here, Coogler presents a bitter political allegory, the seductive language of racial harmony used to mask exploitation. The vampires are not just creatures of myth, they are the metaphor for a white supremacy that drains Black life while pretending kinship. Underneath the horror lies a deeper truth. The real monster isn't the vampires. Jim Crow laws, economic oppression, and social segregation are the structures that allow evil to flourish in plain sight. The vampires feed on blood. Society feeds on despair. The ethical dilemma is clear. Should Smoke and Stack protect their community at all costs, or should they embrace the seductive lie of temporary peace with their oppressors? Kantian duty tells them to reject compromise, but survival tempts them toward uneasy alliances. The night spirals into chaos. Music swells, bodies collide, and the thin line between life and death evaporates. Sammy plays his guitar like a man possessed, summoning spirits from the past and future, a vision of black resistance across generations. Coogler stages a stunning spectacle. West African griots, Chinese dancers, break dancers of the 80s, and funk legends swirl through the smoke-filled air. In that moment, history and myth become one. Music bridges centuries of pain and joy. Sammy's gift is his curse. He plays not just to entertain, but to summon. His music opens a door between worlds. And that's what makes it so dangerous. In one haunting sequence, we watch his fingers dance over the strings as the air fills with apparitions. Some glorious, some terrifying. The film quietly questions, who owns sound? Can black art, born of pain and joy, ever remain uncolonized? Or is every note Sammy plays another thread pulled loose from a history stolen and rewritten? One of the most mesmerizing scenes comes when black and white folk, vampire and human, begin to dance to the same rhythm. It's a moment of sublime unity, then fracture. As the music swells, their bodies move together, but their histories pulled them apart. The groove is shared, but the meaning is not. This is Coogler's central metaphor. Shared culture without shared justice is a masquerade. It's not enough to dance together if the dance floor is soaked in blood. Mary, played with aching restraint by Hailee Steinfeld, is more than just a love interest. She is memory incarnate. Her return for her mother's funeral reopens old wounds between her and Stack, between her and herself. Their bond is steeped in unspoken history, a mix of tenderness and betrayal. Through Mary, the film explores how love can't escape history. In a segregated America, even desire is political. Their intimacy, their silence, their glances across the dance floor, all are loaded with the weight of what they cannot say aloud. By the final act, Sammy has become something else. Not quite a monster, not quite a prophet. He's played the tune that breaks the world open, but now he must live in what's left of it. Sinners doesn't offer catharsis. Instead, it leaves you with a haunting image. Sammy, alone, guitar in lap, staring at the rising sun with blood on his hands. He has survived, but at what cost? Even in victory, there is no peace. The story ends, but its echoes linger. The closing voiceover whispers the film's tragic truth. Freedom for Black Americans in 1932, and arguably even now, is a fragile, fleeting thing. Sometimes the only place it truly exists is in a blues riff played in defiance of a cruel world. And so they stand there, Smoke, Stack, Sammy, and their friends, gathered by the door, facing the strangers who hide fangs behind their smiles. Remick looks at them with those Irish trickster eyes, barely blinking, and speaks from whatever passes for his heart. We believe in music and equality. Can't we just for one night all be family? The truth of the scene is not that Smoke and Stack and Sammy don't believe him. It's that they wish they could. And that is the tragedy of Clarksdale, of America, of humanity itself. We long for unity in a world built on division. We ache to trust, even when history teaches us not to. And so the question remains, echoing like a final chord fading in the night. Can we ever truly belong to each other, or will the music always stop before the dance is done?